Thanks for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. Happy Thursday to everybody. We're going to talk Arizona basketball this episode, but without further ado, let's get started.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, we got a lot to get to this show, but we are going to talk about Arizona basketball. Now, this entire show is going to be dedicated to Arizona basketball and everything that goes with it. Now, the one thing that we do need to talk about a little bit is, first and foremost, this team is going to be much, much better than last year's team, in my opinion, and there's a variety of reasons why. First and foremost, this team is going to be a lot tougher. You look at last year's team, and they just were not very tough. And not only were they not very tough, they were not it felt kind of like a smoke and mirrors approach, because how many players on that team last year, and y'all are smarter than I am, how many players on that team last year did you say, man, that's an NBA player? That was not much of the no, let's be honest, that wasn't in the cards really at all. You look at the starting lineup, Kirk Krivas will not play in the NBA. Julius Tabellis, I doubt ever makes an NBA roster. Oumar Ballo, leader of men. We love Oumar Ballo on this show, but also not an NBA player. There's a variety of different guys that you're just kind of like, you're probably not going to play in the NBA. And you know what? That's all right. But still, at the end of the day, I think you also got to say that, this is a squad right here that just wasn't quite good enough. Now, let's talk about what this means then for the next round of players. And first and foremost, Tommy Lloyd, to his immense credit, and again, I mean his immense credit, because it's not easy for some guys to be able to let's be honest here. The man's 61-11 in his first 2 years as a head basketball coach. A lot of coaches would not be the one that says, yeah, I need to reinvent the wheel, or I need to change some things. That's just not how most coaches are built. That's not how most coaches go. I'm not breaking any news to you right there. I mean, heck, Sean Miller's done a lot of really good things at the U of A, but there was Sean Miller was also very, very, let's just say Sean Miller was just very, well, I'm just going to say it. He was just set in his ways. And he went to Xavier and obviously changed things up a little bit. And by his own admission, he has said that he probably needed that year off to change some things. Tommy Lloyd didn't need that year off. Tommy Lloyd said, I do not need that year off. I am going to reinvent myself or add some players. So let's talk about what he did. First, the first real domino, though, and again, I'm not going in sequential order here, but the one that I think really impresses me the most is the fact that he was able to get Keyshawn Johnson. Keyshawn Johnson's a beast. Let's just call it the way it is. Transfer from San Diego State, obviously, 13-4 in the national title game. 6'7", about 225 pounds, and not only about 225 pounds, they're 235 pounds, a freak athlete, solid across the board, just a really, really good basketball player. And I think his numbers were a little bit deflated because of the style, obviously, that San Diego State runs. I think under Tommy Lloyd, he could easily be 14-9. And not only that, I don't see him coming off the court Obviously a breather here and there, but I don't see him coming off the court. I think he's way too valuable to what Arizona wants to do right there. Now, after that, then and overseas, he looked great. I mean, like I said, if you're to tell me that he's going to be the best player on the team, it would not surprise me in the least. I think that there's very, very much of that possibility right there. And then after that, we're going to keep talking about a few of the newcomers right here. Montias Krivas. All right, Montias Krivas. What else can we say about Montias Krivas other than he's going to be a problem? They've got a little bit of Shemet Karnowski in him, and that he's big, he can move, he can he's not really, I don't want to say move, but he's fluid enough, but he's a monster down low. He can hit fadeaways. He's just a good basketball player. Not only is he a good basketball player, he is someone, like I said, that can finish around the hoop, who can get to where he needs to. He's just like I said, he's a real find. And we're going to get to Oumar Ballo in a second, but Oumar Ballo better be smart about this, because Krivas is ready to rock and roll and Krivas is ready to play. He didn't have that necessarily last year with Oumar Ballo, but Krivas is really, really good. Now, I need to talk about the elephant in the room, and that's Oumar Ballo, leader of men's weight. I am not happy with how Oumar Ballo looks. Oumar Ballo should look better than he looked. And again, he didn't. And again, we're big fans of Oumar Ballo on this show, but he's put on a lot of weight, and I'm not at all happy about it because, again, he is a leader of men. We need Oumar Ballo to look better, not worse. And honestly, it looked like he was just hanging out with me at Del Taco this offseason as I'm looking for my show notes, which have evaporated from me. Okay, but that's kind of what we're looking at, though, with those dudes right there. Big thing about both of them, or, with Oumar Ballo, you got to get back in better shape, dude. I don't know how this happened. I don't know exactly what transpired, but you got to get back into better shape because that honestly is just not cool. I get it if you're a freshman and, or heck, even a sophomore, you don't quite get out of the offseason works. But this is not what you wanted to see out of Oumar Ballo. You did not want to see him showing up here that big, and not only that big, just looking like he didn't work hard this offseason. Again, we expect more from Oumar Ballo right there, and my pen where I take my show notes just died. But I need you in better shape. I mean, quite frankly, I need you in better shape. And not only do I need you in better shape, I need you to kind of take this one seriously. All right, now let's chat a little bit. And again, as I'm looking for my pen, which died on me, let's chat a little bit, though, about eBay Motors. I can speak to eBay Motors right here. eBay Motors, the right parts, the right fit, the right prices. Check it out. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available for U.S. customers. I utilized eBay Motors this past. My car took a dump, and I said, I don't know what to do here. I certainly can't put it in the engine, but I called somebody, and they said, I can put this in for you for pretty next to free manual labor. Just get me the parts. So guess what I thought about? eBay Motors. And that's where I think that's what's cool about eBay Motors. They cut out the middleman. For neophytes like myself, they make it very simple. eBay Motors, big fans of what they do. All right, we're going to take a quick break while I look for my pen. All right, thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making it your first listen. I am no longer penless, and I have to have a pen as I do a show because I remember things, certain things that just kind of matter or pertain to me. I needed that. Now, let's see here. Let's talk now about KJ Lewis. KJ Lewis is a monster. Not only is he a monster, he is going to be a player who is, I think, an NBA player. And not only an NBA player, but a player who is going to make a lot of recruiting services look stupid, honestly. And because, again, he's athletic. He can get to the hoop. Not only can he get to the hoop, he's a good kid on top of that. He is a player that I think it's fair to say at this stage is I think he could fit his way into the rotation. I really do. I think he's got that type of potential to him. And not only that type of potential to him, I think that he's got the ability to be a starter by next year. And that's why I'm curious to see what Tommy Lloyd does with him, because anybody that's been to practice, anybody that's been to the practice, anybody that knows that Tommy Lloyd's going to try to actually utilize him. I think of it this way. I think of the way that Tommy Lloyd used Adama Ball. Now, again, he's a much better player than Adama Ball, but I think of the way that Tommy Lloyd used Adama Ball. Try to get you in as many minutes as possible throughout the season, without disrupting the rotation. And then by next year, you're ready to rock and roll. I think of the Jalen Clark. I like the Jalen Clark career trajectory. Play a little bit as a freshman, then quite a bit as a sophomore. By the time you're a junior, you're the best defensive player in the conference. That's where I look at it. That's where I think that he can do. And honestly, I'm excited about that possibility because I think that's what's going to happen. KJ Lewis, though, very, very good. That was a nice little find there by the Tommy gun. All right, now, Kylan Boswell. Kylan Boswell is he's very good. Don't get me wrong. But I think the one thing about him is that he's somewhat limited. And by somewhat limited, I think that it's just pretty much the way it is. Not only is he somewhat limited, but he's a very good player. But when you look at NBA teams, when you look at NBA players, you don't see a lot of guys that look like him. That's not a slight towards Kylan Boswell at all, because, again, Kylan Boswell is very good, and I think he will play in the NBA, but he's not a next-level athlete, and he struggled a little bit in the offseason, obviously. That's something that we certainly need to keep an eye on. Now, a couple other things to keep in mind, though. With Boswell, I still think he's going to be like 14, 4, and 5, something like that. Good player, 14, 5, and 4. And I think Jaden Bradley next to him will be just fine. So there's that. Now, let's talk about Jaden Bradley. Jaden Bradley was smooth. Jaden Bradley was solid. Again, a lot of people said, well, he didn't really stick out. That, to me, is not necessarily a bad thing. And not only is it not necessarily a bad thing to me, it might be actually a good thing. He's just kind of working his way into the rotation. Again, you can tell by the way that he plays that he's a player. He doesn't need all that next level coddling, but I think he's going to be I would start him next to Kylan Boswell, but that's just me. All right, now the next guy we need to talk about, Caleb Love. I love how Caleb Love has fit into this team. And not only do I love how he's fit into this team, he has been a guy who let's be honest here, kind of came with a little bit of baggage, at least according to some U of A fans who were not thrilled by the move. I was not one of them. I was thrilled by the move right there because I think that he can play. I think he's really, really good. And again, I'm a big fan of what he can do, all of that. So that's where we're kind of at with Caleb Love. He also can create his own shot. He's going to get his own shot. It's just about being able to harness it. But, I think Tommy Lloyd can do that. Tommy Gunn knows what he's doing. Tommy Gunn knows what he's doing. And not only that, it's going to be a lot of fun to be able to watch him this year. Now, Pel Larson. Let's talk a little bit about Pel Larson right here. Now, I think the first thing is that Pel still can't dribble. Now, not only can Pel, and which is always going to limit. It's always going to limit what he can do. Just is the way it is. But he can. He's a solid athlete. He's strong. He can do a ton of different things. And not only that, he can get to the hoop off of one dribble, not multiple dribbles there, and a good player. Again, I think that he's going to benefit from Tommy Lloyd not having to utilize him or not having to essentially say, we need you to be our best player. That's not how he's wired. That's not how he's built. That's not how he is. But if he's your fourth option, you're totally fine with that. I am curious to see if he's able to start this year. Because last year, Tommy Lloyd tried starting him and he was terrible. Brought him off the bench, and all of a sudden he was good. So we'll find out where exactly he is, where he fits into that, because it's obviously mental at that point. If you're not able to really start, but you're able to play much better off the bench, then that's a mental thing right there. We'll find out what Pel Larson can do right there. Maybe we'll ask Bruce Pascoe about this. But again, Pel is a solid player, just can't dribble, which is fine. Not something that's ideal, but is what it is. All right, Dylan Anderson right here. What we need to talk about with Dylan is this. First of all, he still hasn't gotten the bike back. And I'm not thrilled about it because, again, that means somebody stole Dylan Anderson's bike. I did not steal Dylan Anderson's bike. Some people have asked me if that was me. It was not me. I have not stolen Dylan Anderson's bike, but we need to get the bike back. By any means necessary, we need to get the bike back. Now, a couple things. First, we need to talk about where, in the grand scheme of things, Dylan is. I think Dylan can play. It's just going to be a real logjam this year. What I would like to see him do is, and I've said this before, I'd like to see him redshirt this year and come back and compete for a starting position next year with 3 years of eligibility. That's what I would do with Dylan Anderson. I'd like to see it happen. I don't know that it's going to happen, but I would like to see it. I think that he's got some real ability right there. Now, let's take a quick break, and we're going to talk about the rest of the players on this team. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now, Henry Vasar. I think Henry's going to fall behind. I like Henry. But I think Dylan made a lot of improvements this offseason. I think Dylan is just a guess. I think Dylan's probably surpassed him in the rotation. That is a good thing because we like Dylan Anderson a great deal on this show. A great deal. Now, I think what you also got to factor in, though, is some of the other things that go with it is, who else is out there? Because right now, you got let's see here. You've already got Oumar Ballo, leader of men. He's going to play 25 minutes. Krivas probably about 15. Keyshawn Johnson 30, something like that. So there's a limited amount, and those are post players, dudes that are going to be in the post. So there's a limited amount of what minutes available. But if anybody can get in there, if anybody can slide his way in there, we're going to say that it's going to be Dylan Anderson. But I'd still like to see Dylan Anderson redshirt. Big fan of what Dylan can do, obviously. All right, now, Philly B. Let's talk a little bit about Philly B right here. Philly B, the Serbian sniper, as he's being called, looked pretty good overseas. I don't know what to expect, but I would love to see Philly B be able to really become a stat sheet stuffer. He's got that ability. He's good. I like Philly B. I thought he was impressive. I think Philly B has improved his stock this offseason, and I stand by that. We're going to find out what Philly B can do. Maybe Philly B is going to be a 4-year practice player. Maybe Philly B is eventually a rotation guy. Who knows? We will not limit anything to what Philly B can do, though, because this is Philly B's world. I am actually going to go to Filiberto's this morning and get food. By the way, couple things. Let's see here. We need to talk about all right, now we're going to talk more about the next show. We're going to talk more about the transition from the Big 12 to the Pac-12, everything that goes with that. And again, the scheduling of the Tommy gun. We like the scheduling a great deal. I'm excited to see exactly what they can put forward. All right, but as ever, always, thanks for making Locked On your first listen of the day. Really do appreciate you. We obviously we're in day-by-day mode right now. We will be back tomorrow talking some Big 12, Pac-12, scheduling, transition, all of that stuff. But as always, have a great day, and we will talk with you tomorrow.